The way the model release numbers, they put the wireless stuff in compared to used to stand alone. That for and so if you're in a shopping mall and you're walking through the shopping mall and you have the app on your phone, coupons come. Yeah. So if you're walking, like if you're in you're in Coronado, you're walking through Janelle.
It says second as you're walking towards the restaurant. So there's the copies he's talking about.
That's really neat.
This one?
Because that would make
I mean, you know, the thing with the breweries, all the little microbreweries, is you park in the parking lot and free pint pops.
Let's call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular council meeting for September 20th, 2017. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve this evening's agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Can you hear us, Counselor?
No, I can't. I didn't hear up to just this moment.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is an adjournment for a site visit to Woodline Drive, property of Jonathan Pillars.
Mr.
Councilor
Mayor,
Abraham.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to say that I'm not going to go to that site visit. I've already been to that property, and I just don't feel like it's an appropriate thing for us to do.
Okay. Councilor Abrams.
I'll make a motion to adjourn for a site visit to Woodline Drive, the property of Jonathan Pillars.
We have a second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn the meeting to take a short site visit up to Woodline Drive. I guess we ought to do this one on a roll call. Start on that end. Councilor Abrams.
Aye.
Councilor Holly.
Aye.
Councilor Abraham.
Nay.
Councilor Simmons.
Aye.
Motion passes. I got something I want to read here into the record before we head up there. With something to tell them what we're doing. Purpose of the site visit is to allow members of the governing body an opportunity to see the area in question and perform due diligence. Members of the public may attend, however, no public testimony, substantive discussion of the issues, or exchange of evidence will be allowed. In addition, ex parte communication with members of the governing body is prohibited. Members of the governing body will travel to the site in their own vehicles. Once at the site, the members of the governing body can leave their vehicles, view the area in question, remaining together in a group. At no time will the group discuss the issues of the case. Members of the governing body shall depart the area promptly after concluding site visit and return to the community center. Upon reconvening of the meeting, the members of the governing body will each affirm that no discussions of the matter were made during the site visit and no action was taken. The site visit may not be discussed among members of the governing body with the applicant or members of the public until the hearing on this matter is reconvened on October 4th, 2017. So we're in adjournment until we get back.
Go grab my other phone. My wife just called me and said that she got all kinds of drama. It's just down that part.
That's not good.
That's never good.
Yeah.
There's an appeal that has been before.
Pretty much kind of what it looks like.
That's always good when you log in. So there's a charge for $2,497 made by a Chase credit card against our account. We don't even have a Chase card. $386 charge in Longmont, Tennessee. It's probably not us. It's like I know they reimburse you all this stuff, but all those transactions went from $335 to $109. All Tennessee.
Just call bank.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him right now. And it's like, hello, how are you? Yes. Yes, you can make it, can't you? You can make it. So just have this filled out and bring it with you tomorrow? Sorry, that's a little crunched up here in the front seat of my car for a while. Just fill that out. It's just a simple application for that stuff. But definitely would like to have you join us for that. So there's going to be 10 people involved. So this should be pretty fun. It'll be good. Look forward to seeing you there.
Part of the Equifax thing?
Yeah. I hate that stupid wipe thing.
You know who does that real well? Tanya.
Does she?
She'll sit there and she's like, I tried doing it and it was upsetting. I said like, on my way home and it says, I beat the dog on the way to the hospital or something like random like
Yeah, I tell you right now, like I called the bank and closed the card, and it came up with like council room closures. Never fails. It seems like there's always something, you know, like life's going too good, and then almost guarantee they probably got it off of a skid or something.
That happened to my wife and I 1 week before we went to Hawaii. So we had to cancel all of our cards. And then I had to pay like a insane like $50 expedited fee to get it there in like 3 days. It's like we're going to Hawaii, you know, we kind of need our cards.
Yeah.
So then after that, I got rid of debit cards.
Did you?
I mean, we have them, but I got rid of
Try to
them.
use cash for everything, but
And I actually switched to a USAA credit card.
did you?
I use that for everything, so I get the cash back points.
That's what you do.
And then, you know, it's like I don't remember what that one gets, like 2% cash back for every dollar spent and 1% cash back for every bill paid, so to speak, every dollar paid. So with the cash back portion, what we end up doing is we just split that and put that into bank accounts for the kids.
Yeah.
And especially like, so for their birthdays, when people give them cash, we'll match that and put like, so like with my son's birthday, he got like $40 cash. we put $40 extra in his account, $40 cash. He wanted to go to Tractor Supply and buy dinosaurs, so we're like, all right, go get it. But at least we're building up your reserves.
It's weird because Tyler loves those stupid little tractors and dinosaurs and horses and their Tractor Supply. So what were you hitting up to?
What am I driving?
What was the deal out there? That's nothing they're dealing with tonight, right?
That's all it is. Which one are you looking for? Yes.
They made a road this night there to drive out and drive I don't know if there's legal as a road. I know there's roads. We're showing here, right? Oh, right Yes, right here. These are roads, right? This road?
No, the road, the red's not, that's the old boundary lines
These roads are. Oh, yes. Okay, maybe right out here. If they live here, and they're on the other side, then you come out and make it a road. You drive over there, drive it right out.
I guess with the consent of the property owner.
It is the property.
Well, so like they own this piece here, because each one of these little things
Right
is
to
a
the
parcel.
house, yes.
They're coming out this way or this way, they would have to go through another parcel, piece of property, or two,
Part of the reason I'm concerned is just rise the land, even though it's not my land, I am a homeowner association. And that's the whole rest of the properties in general and the cost of them on our properties. So I am, you know, 23, and this first one I had is coming right out. The backyard she might have another question. Are you annexed? He's wondering. And we did get notice, right? They did. I did.
So this has been the only annexation.
Oh, not anything, but we got new letters.
Yeah, new letters, the governing body wanted.
So it was already happening.
It actually already happened. The way the annexation works is the municipal boundary commission is the one who oversaw it, and for whatever reason they did not send out any notification. And so the governing body wanted to send out.
Oh, what?
Yeah, when they direct on the same thing like we did with our meeting, just post it.
You gotta find out. Now, other places are still going through the same, like other lady annexes? Is that?
I don't know if So the reason for this one is because annexation, because law enforcement, they would get a call, and let's just say, for example, they had a call at this house. Well, we have officers here that can respond, but they would drive, they could essentially just sit there in the driveway and watch whatever crime
There's
goes
no
on.
commission in the county.
So they don't have jurisdiction until they have. So that's why they kind of, because we had that open checkerboard. So now, this fills it in.
Oh, this doesn't have So do they
To my knowledge, we don't require.
But that's what they're working at it, they're trying to make sense. I think they're really the biggest people have been.
How many windows did it break?
Yes.
Which one?
Completely just to its side.
I haven't seen it here. I did see there's 1 or 2 or 4 feet from the bottom.
Yeah.
When it
Shows the roof.
when it actually. And so I went from here down still nothing. It's like,
Well, maybe we'll just sit
And I guess in a situation,
well, you know, when we're talking about, you know, what priority, it's like number 48 or something.
The list is only 47 long, I think we did 48.
Then when John bring it back, he was the first one out there.
Was he?
Yeah. And so when the report got back to him, he called one of the road guys out to help him. John gave me a ride back. And he said, well, I guess the good thing is this puts in a good mood for getting that way no more.
Need something like this. Already done. I know. Didn't have
Time to come back into open session here.
Mr. Mayor, we have returned from our.
Wait.
Get Rita Loy on. Okay. I'll wait a moment.
Lloyd? You're back? Okay, we're back. Hang on. Okay, Councilor Abrams.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we reconvene in open session.
Second.
And do we affirm that what was discussed out, or not discussed?
I would like to affirm that no discussion was had during travel nor at the site, and no decisions were made, and there was no ex parte communication with any persons.
You so affirm, Counselor Holly, do you so affirm?
I so affirm.
As do I. So let's take a vote to go back into open session then. Start on that end. Counselor Abrams,
Aye?
Counselor Holly,
Aye.
Counselor Abraham,
Hi.
Counselor Simmons.
Aye.
Thank you, Counsel. Next item then is approval of the minutes for September 6th, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the town council meeting minutes for September 6, 2017.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the council meeting minutes for September 6, 2017. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say
Aye.
nay. Thank you, Counselor Simmons.
Aye. Are you there?
Yep, we're here.
Okay.
You're here too.
Isn't biolocation special?
Yeah, you're right up here next to me. Okay,
Mr.
the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We've got the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes for August 7th, and also Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes for August 21st.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve this evening's consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye?
All opposed, say
Aye.
nay. Ayes have it. I've got some action items here tonight. Our planning and zoning people aren't here. We have the Town of Edgewood Planning and Zoning Report for the month of August 2017. That's here, and then behind it we have a code enforcement report, both of them for August 2017. And since neither Michelle or Tanya are here, if you have any questions, let us know what they are, and we'll pass them along to them when they get back.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to accept the Town of Edgewood Planning and Zoning Report for the month of August and the Town of Edgewood Police Report for the month of August. I think that's where we are at.
It is.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the Town of Edgewood Planning and Zoning Report for the month of August, as well as the Town of Edgewood Police Report for the month of August. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, for
Yes, ma'am.
discussion,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to see full names of commissioners
Okay,
in the future,
yep,
and I vote aye.
okay. Motion passes. Discussion item. Tonight, public comment. First up, we have Linda Burke.
Hello, Council. Just a quick update on some things coming up. Excuse me. Tomorrow evening is the Autumn Mixer, which is going to be at Sierra Blanca Grove in Moriarty from 5 to 7. So we'd love to have any or all of you come and attend and mix mingle. Of course, enjoy the offerings if you're so inclined. We are promoting Woodstock, so hopefully that will be a great event. I'm seeing a lot of interest in that on social media as we do promote it. The October 21st is our Best in Plays and Husbands event. That's a sporting clays event out at Founders Ranch, and we would very much like to encourage the town of Edgewood to enter a team. We hear the mayor knows how to handle a shotgun, and I'm thinking perhaps maybe some of the other counselors, maybe put a couple ringers in from the police department or get Judge White. And perhaps even challenge the city of Moriarty, because we're just trying to make it a real fun event and get the community active and involved. And November 25th will be our Small Business Saturday again, which will be encouraging everyone as we kind of kick off the holiday shopping season to keep in mind that shopping locally has a purpose more than just convenience, but it actually supports the community. So those are it. We will be supporting, promoting Brews on Bachelor on October the 7th, which is a town event coming up. And I think that's about it. If anyone has any questions, happy to answer.
That's not. Next person up is Tanya Mangum.
I just want to be on here in case I want to.
Oh, okay. Next person is Chuck Reed.
Don't have to run, but I read today that true leaders don't create followers, but they create more leaders. And after listening to the minutes of the last meeting, you guys are shortchanging the public. There creates the leaders, so somebody can replace you. I listened about art being important in the community several times when I was on the council, and I agree that it is. But also, the attractiveness of the town is important to the town too. We have weeds that are so tall that you can't read the illegal signs that you have. And I would really like to see somebody get a hold of the weeds along 344. You know, most of them are not on the town right of way, most of them are on private property, but they're right up against the right of way fence, and they really look terrible. And in winter, they become a fire hazard. And they're also noxious, probably some jackrabbits, rats, and stuff. Anyway, I heard the planning and zoning comment on her ability to get people from the community to cut weeds and lawns and stuff like that for people who are destitute or poor or otherwise can't afford or unable to cut your weeds. Valley Christian Church also offers that service, so you can tell her that she can contact us and we'll do that. We've done it many times before. I just want everybody on the council to feel like they can represent their town and be proud of their town rather than argue about weeds and other things like that. If you go down Maple Road, you'll see, as you all know, 130-something vehicles that are corralled in one residence. Before that, you'll see 2 or 3 lots that are filled full of cars and stuff. You go past that 130 cars, on the right-hand side, all the way down, you'll see nothing but trash, abandoned vehicles, abandoned equipment, tore up lawnmowers, things of that nature. We annexed these folks. I think we owe it to the people that live next door to them or that have really placed some value in their homes, which on the opposite side of the 130 vehicles. There is a property there that is just beautiful. But the guy's trying to sell it, and we're going to have to sell it at a huge discount amount. Anyway, you can look at it yourself and see what we're talking about. I heard the attorney come in on several of the discussions the other night. I think that when we have to have an attorney comment that many times, that we haven't really looked at our ordinances and we don't really understand them. I think you really need to get in there and study the ordinances. You need to have a workshop, have a workshop. I heard the attorney tell a gentleman that stood up to with Ray Seegers. He is a gentleman. Anyway, he was trying to find the answer to a question. He asked the question several times. And these 2 times, the attorney told him, talk to the legislature. Well, that's not an answer. And it's not a respectful answer. I think it's terrible. Plenty of trash outdoors at people's homes. Some is actually trash, some is just storage of people's mulch or something of that nature. In any case, these ordinances shouldn't be that hard to sort out. They truly should. They should be understandable, especially after, what is it, 18, 17, 18 years. This should be a really good understanding of all the ordinances, even the ones that we keep trying to change. And I heard somebody say that we had set a precedent on some of the action that was taken the other night. I don't know if that's the right word, but I guess it would do until the attorney either corrects it or goes along with it. That's all I have. Got any rocks to throw?
No, thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Next person on the list is Robert Johansson.
Really? Can you hear me?
No, it was the other mic.
Did that on purpose.
Counselor Simmons, for your information, we got a roadie doing a sound check here. Not ready to go just yet.
Okay, I was unable to hear any of the comments from the community, but you could recap anything you think it would be pertinent.
Try to get another plaque added
Okay, is it working?
Sounds like it.
Well, I don't know if I just got the Independent about 4 o'clock this afternoon. First time I saw it on the stands. I see an article in there about the zoning stuff. Seems like things are getting out of hand again. I was under the impression after reading that article that we're possibly voting on that tonight. Is that the case?
No.
No? No. Okay. When is that going to happen?
We've got to figure that out. It needs more time in the shop.
Like I said, I think that's getting a little bit out of hand there. Way back when, and I think the mayor heard that plenty of times right there with me, that all previous uses will be grandfathered in. And they're talking about old cars, and now there's a difference between an old car and a valuable old car. You know, some of it's junk and some of it isn't. And so, in any case, I think we need to look a little closer at that before it gets voted on.
Okay.
And I plan on holding you to that all previous uses will be grandfathered in. And it's not just about old cars.
You'll stick around for the discussion on the zoning ordinance?
Okay. That's tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next person up is Janelle Turner.
You signed it first, if you want to. This is your chance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm glad that Councilor Ring went first. We've had our differences of opinion in the past, but when it comes to weeds, we're on the same page here. Your question about what the attorney said at the last meeting, it kind of folds into what I wanted to say tonight. Sometimes the audio on those recordings is hard to hear, and what I heard Mr. Audio trying to say to Mr. Seegers was that some of that language that's in the ordinance is there because it's required by state statute. If he said call your legislature, well, maybe he did. I didn't. I missed that, but that goes to what I wanted to say. I was very disappointed to hear a lot of scaremongering at the last council meeting during the discussion about the zoning ordinance. And I have more to say during the hearing about the specific proposals, but I wanted to remind you that because all town ordinances either restrain people or compel them to do things that they might not otherwise want to do, the federal and state government put due process clauses into place at all levels of government. And so some of these, overblown stories about, well, will my vegetable garden be the target of code enforcement? No, because nuisances have to be, as a part of due process, nuisances have to be legally defined. There has to be a process for enforcing the ordinance, and there has to be recourse for people who disagree. That is in the zoning ordinance. It has always been in the zoning ordinance. And furthermore, that's true of all town ordinances, whether it's the sign ordinance, animal control, whatever. And so I think it's irresponsible to go around making these wild claims about how, we've got this tyrannical government and we've got too many rules and regulations. I have read the old ordinances going back to 1999, all through them. The rules are pretty much the same, with the exception of 1999, which was pretty vacuous. There wasn't much in that ordinance. But the same rules are there. There's not a lot new. There is new guidance for the code enforcement officials, and I think we need that to protect them from false accusations. I am tired of seeing the town's planning and zoning employees being used as political footballs. And whatever you can do to make that less attractive to people, I'm all for. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Captain Mahoney?
Mayor and Council, I'm here for the same purpose as I was last meeting. I understand there's an update, but I'm here to ask you, as a governing body, again, what is the status of the sewer service to the property that's been paid, that has a paid sewer service application on State Road 333?
Come in and talk to Carla Salazar at the office, and you can figure that out.
And how is that not answered here?
That's about your personal sewer service over there? Yeah. Come in and talk to staff on it.
Okay, because the last response, and again along the lines I wanted to add, I believe the conclusions in your agenda are inaccurate. You've approved the meeting from September 6th, and if you review the audio again, I responded to that comment if the staff wanted me to come in. I've responded by letter. I've written a letter to that. I've responded already.
Have you not had a chance to come in and see her?
No, I've responded asking why can't we just get a response in writing?
Maybe she can get you one.
I hope so. So we did, not in response to that one, no you didn't. So since then I also have, since the last meeting, did a public records request, since I don't have an answer here, and I have records from the town. I had also done a public records request from the state of New Mexico, differing information. However, they both show that you all do have plans for sewer service or designs, and I'm sure you'll get an update on that tonight. Interesting enough, Mayor, the design addresses your personal property. Phase 1 goes right up to all the vacant property of yours right here. So again, I would ask if there's, and going back to the question, let me be clear on the question you asked me, if I would anticipate mine being first in, you said the queue in the queue. My answer is if my paid sewer service is the first in queue, absolutely. Your ordinance stipulates that. So if it is not, I'm asking why isn't it?
Well, like I said, I'd come in and talk to staff on that. I mean, we're not prepared here tonight to talk about your individual service. That's what staff is in the office for.
Okay, are you prepared to ask why then is there any other sewer service ahead of ours?
Could be. Cody's going to be discussing that with us in a few minutes.
Okay, I'm not talking about the phasing or plan. I'm talking about has the town received any other sewer service applications or applications for sewer service besides ours since 2015?
I don't know on that, but I know they've received requests over the years from different people. I don't know that they always come in on an application. So,
a paid application?
Well,
per the
one
ordinance.
of them dates back to like 2001 or 2, and there wasn't an application there. It was just a letter from a fella. So, sorry, it's not on an application, but that's what they sent in back in the day.
All right, so if you have an ordinance, again, isn't the objective of this body to enforce the ordinances that are in place?
Yeah.
And if an ordinance is followed, a due was paid for a service, yet that service is not provided. And in this case, it looks like, did you provide a sewer service application for service, Mayor?
Don't know that we've got one in yet.
Yet you have lines designed for yours as a priority.
How do you know that?
Public records request.
Okay. And the fact that you also discussed that with us when I first got into office.
Not as any priority or sequencing or phasing, no, sir.
You discussed it with me many a time.
Not any phasing or priority, no, sir.
That's all right.
All right. So you don't have any schedule of when that service will be placed?
Again, if you want to come in and talk to staff about it, you're more than welcome to come in there.
When is convenient?
I'm here all week, the rest of the week.
All right, I'm not. The other thing I wanted to ask about then is, with respect to these lines, has there been a planning document prepared to identify the scope of these sewer lines?
Not sure on that. We may find out when Cody gets up and gives his presentation.
Okay, very good. No answers, thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Your name and address, ma'am?
My name is Tanya Mangum, and I live here in Edgewood, and I'm part of what's already considered the town. My concern is weeds. It has been for a long time. As taxpayers pay to have those weeds addressed, and they're not. They are pretended to be addressed by cutting 2 inches off the top. They are a hazard for people that walk in the park or try to get down to the park. You guys are going to have a major event Saturday, and you have weeds almost as tall as the trash cans out there, which make it really difficult to use the trash cans or the dog waste. And so it doesn't paint a pretty picture to say, come to our town and spend your money locally when we're dirty. We're a dirty town, and if you don't set the example, but you want to put it out on other people, I don't think that sets a real good example. We have rock that is out throughout town that is full of weeds. It's full of seeds that are going to make it worse, and they're horrible weeds such as Russian thistle. Some of the parks you can't use because of goat heads. You're not going to take your kids or your dog out there. And the other is tumbleweeds that have like 100,000 seeds in each one plant. And so I think you're part of the reason that it's creating a larger problem. You're not part of the solution, unfortunately. I do live next to people that don't do any yard work or get rid of their dead trees, and as a result of them feeding chickens twice a day, we fight their rodents. And I know that this town has also had plague in it through the rodents, so that isn't too nice when we have little kids on our street. And I do look at people's boats and people's vehicles that have gray paint on them or whatever, that aren't planning to be on the road, that say in tow on the back of them year after year. So I have to look at those things as well. But I'm also thinking that if you looked at all of the council, they would be guilty of some of those things as well. And that's what I wanted to bring today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else wish to speak?
Carl Calamia, Edgewood. My biggest complaint are the chassis of the old mobile homes that are moved over and the new ones take its place, and there it sits. And the weeds grow around it, just like this lady just said. So I wrote an article about 5 years about that. 5 years ago, nothing was ever done. So I think we all live with it. I do mow Williams Ranch Road of my own accord. No payment, no, and I've never asked for anything. That's something that I do just for my own edification. And if people would take the initiative to get off their butts and do their own yards before they start throwing stones at others. And all these places that are full of weeds and trash, maybe those people will do something about it. But I can tell you in Medford, Oregon, they have an ordinance. They send you a notice. You have 30 days to clean up. If you don't, they go in and do it, and they send you a bill. If you don't pay it, there's a lien against your property. So when you go to sell your house, you lose it. And they'll do it year after year. Just a thought.
Thank you, Carl. Anybody else? If not, we'll move on to item number 200D, wastewater sewer line extension project. Cody?
Mayor, Council, good evening. I'm Cody Sipes with Smith Engineering Company. This is the first time I'm addressing you, so I thought that's a microphone, not a plane. Okay,
Push it
is that
into
better?
the stand a little more, it's going to bail.
Is that better? Okay, I'll start over again since we had a plane and didn't have a mic. Mayor, Council, I'm Cody Sipes with Smith Engineering Company. First time addressing the council, but I've been working for you guys for a little over 6 months now on wastewater collection system expansion project. Little background, we put in a proposal. You guys had RFP out in the fall of last year. We put in a proposal and we were selected as the engineer. They needed a contract from us early this year to obligate the state funds, and we got that contract into you guys. The state approved the contract in February, I believe, of this year, so we started our engineering design services at that time. We were tasked in that contract to do wastewater sewer expansion to the service area that's identified in the PER, which was preliminary at that time. There's a preliminary exhibit that the town gave to us, and to expand the service area to the Edgewood 7 area. We were also tasked with doing a phase 1 design that took it all the way to construction, or the bid docks, construction, and then construction phase services. Phase 1 was identified. There's 3 priorities. There was the services along Church Street, east of Quail, which is going to be paved soon, is my understanding, or it's in design to be paved. And then the second priority was collection system in the Main Street area for this area around here, Dairy Queen, Community Center, Dennis Engineering, and along Cactus Road. And then the second priority was along Church Street from Cactus Road to Quail Trail. So those were the 3 priorities, and we include those in phase 1. And then the third task that we had under that contract was to, after we do a conceptual design of the whole system all the way through 60%, which would be design drawings that would be without bid documents. So basically all the engineering design of how the elevations, the alignment of the sewer would be designed, annotation specific to construction and specs and bid docs would not be completed for the whole area because you don't know how much funding you would have. After we got that portion done for the whole system, service area, that we would do a phase 2 design bid documents that would take the plans to a 95% level and would give you contract docs that you could go and obtain funding with. And we were estimating, for the purposes of our estimate, we kind of figured that you guys would identify about a $1.2 or $1.5 million second phase project that you would want to go with. And it would be up to the council and mayor to decide where you guys wanted to go for phase 2. So that's initially what we got under contract. So to date, we had 180 days to get in the 30% drawings, which is shown here. This is an overall exhibit. And I got you guys probably have a little exhibit in front of you. But the 30% design over the conceptual area, we broke into several areas just to make it a little more clear when we provided engineers' costs, and because they can be constructed at separate times. So we ended up with eight different areas, and they're in no priority. Some areas are dependent on other areas being constructed, but for the most part, they can be constructed at in the order that you guys wish. That said, the Main Street area that we're calling on this sheet, the Phase 1 bid documents have already been provided to the town and are at review at NMED at the state. Because also in our initial scope, we had 180 days to get to 30% here, and then after 75 days, we were supposed to begin the phase of Phase 1, or the design of Phase 1, which we did and complete within 90 days. And we submitted the Phase 1 bid docs to the town for review on August 23rd. And these 30% drawings we submitted to the town on August 14th. Yes, ma'am.
Question. What is the population along these routes? Can you tell me that? What kind of population are we looking at connecting?
I cannot tell you that offhand. Basically, we looked at service connections and not population. And in the detailed breakdowns, opinions of costs, the total service connections for each area are in there. I'm sorry, I don't have the total connections even for the whole service area with me. But it is, due to the way Edgewood is, I mean, there's 300 feet between lots, so there's not a lot of connections on each line. And we're looking at an 8-inch gravity sewer system that can meet the demands of everybody in the system here, because you don't have a lot of flows.
I have one other question.
Yes, Counselor.
The condition of our plant. How much of this can it accept?
That's not in my scope of work. So that I can't answer that question.
Mayor, Council, so that will be HDR presenting next council meeting on October 4th. They'll be presenting their findings from their technical memorandum.
And we do have a PER that we've all reviewed and the council talks about.
Well, yeah, but we rejected it as what we were going to do.
No, we accepted the PER.
So we do, I mean, the PER have a lot of good information.
Does it make more sense to look at the plant before we look at collection lines?
Yes. Well, part of
the plant, the PER looked at the plant.
Right.
But also the PER also did look at the collection system.
Right.
And it was also the recommendation that we have and add that residential waste to the collection system.
Right. So I guess just, I don't want us getting our cart before our horse if we design lines to a plant that is still undersized. So I personally would, don't we have something that we're doing on this tonight, or not? Are we making any decisions or anything on this tonight?
No.
Okay.
Just information.
All right.
Information.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, her point is very well taken, and we have a chicken and an egg situation here. Our plant is undersized. We don't have the customer base. How do we get the customer base? We get lines to them. And so in all of these alternatives, I would like some kind of an analysis of who are the customers now, and then in the future, you know, at build out. Let's say that it looks like this particular area is going to develop, and we would have customers, paying customers, who can pay for the increase or the repairs of the system. So that's what I'm concerned about. We're really at a chicken and an egg. Which comes first? We don't get the money because we don't have the customer base, but we don't get the customers because we don't have the infrastructure. And it's kind of like a dog chasing its tail. That's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Simmons.
So I guess so where we're going from here is kind of what the next step is. So we got 30% drawings. I submitted this to the town to review. And basically we had some alternatives in here. I gave a basic letter description of what we did, the work we had, the different costs. And we have two alternatives that we're really looking at, each with two options. So alternative one is an alternative that there is a possibility that you can get sewer to gravity feed all the way down to the existing lift station site on Church Street. And these are the kind of the copper colored lines, these two alternatives that I'm talking about right now. So the gravity flow would go across private property along the draw to the existing lift station. The second alternative would be to put in another lift station basically at the intersection of Park Street and Quail Trail, near the senior facility south of Beehive, and pump it up to the existing 12-inch line at the intersection of Church and Quail Trail. Those two alternatives, we provided the cost, but the lift station option is a cheaper option. And some benefits to the cheaper, basically it's a cheaper option, and you don't have to get as much easements or lands for the facility. There'll be a little easement involved for the pump station itself. Some cons with the lift station option, though, is that there's additional maintenance with pump stations. You got to have electrical service to it, and then you got to pay the operating costs of them. And we estimated the cost for that lift station to be about $388,000 and the associated force main. The gravity line option that we're looking at there is about $414,000. It would be a fairly shallow line, and it would be just a standard 8-inch gravity line with manholes. But we are looking at a lot of manholes there, which you have less maintenance, you don't have any electrical bills, and it could encourage development in the future. Some cons to it, though, is it, like I said, it's higher cost, and then you have to coordinate with landowners, get easements, and since it's near that drainage swale, some additional steps would have to be taken to protect it from damage and maybe infiltration, surface water infiltration in the future. But it's nothing that couldn't be built easily. The second alternative that we're looking at is kind of a similar scenario, except both of these are gravity lines. So there's a line running north-south, again, across the same private property, and it would tie into the existing lift station. And we anticipate that cost to be about $489,000 for that portion of line. The alternative 2B, which is the other option in that alternative, is basically running a gravity line east-west, what we're calling the Robin Court alignment, because that's how it's identified in the 30% drawings. But that line would be up to 20 feet deep in places, so it's relatively deep compared to what the other sewer is that you have would have in your system. Which would, the problems with deep sewer is it can be dangerous, confined spaces, gases, things like that, hard to maintain if there are problems. Deeper sewer lines, higher costs, and then we'd have to use thicker pipe and possibly have bedding material around the pipe. And then once we get to that depth, who knows what we will encounter. We may run into rock, or who knows. But based on our estimated costs on it, it is a cheaper option by about $30,000. But not knowing what we have for rock. We did do one soil investigation at the end of North Odette Court, and we drilled to 25 feet and did not encounter anything. So It's kind of a gamble. So that said, basically what we submitted with the 30% drawings, what we're looking for from you guys is a selection on what alternatives you want to go with. And then if you have any other comments on the layout of the facility, I'm not sure if you guys have had opportunity to look at it, and if you have, but that's what we're looking for is comments. Now's the time to make any design layout changes before we start surveying these proposed alignments and doing all the property research, right-of-way boundaries research, and things like that. That would be included in the 60% design.
How soon do you need that, Cody?
That's up to your guys' schedule. If you get it to me tomorrow, we can start, but if you guys want to take your time, it's up to you. The way the contract's written is, after you get us the comments back, we got, I believe, 180 days to get you the 60% design after that, so. And one thing I did find out, I did contact NMED Construction Programs Bureau because they administer the legislative funding that's being used for the design of this. They wanted to review the 30% and the Phase 1 bid docs, and they should have us comments back this Friday, which would be 1 month since we gave it to them.
Councilors, any thoughts on these?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
one additional thought, and I keep flipping on these pages trying to remember where I saw things like gravity flow, and that's one of the things that I've always been impressed when we can use gravity flow. That's a great thing. Pump stations are costly, of course, but where we can use gravity, I just adore that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Simmons. So you're looking for a sort of a decision between alternative 1A or 1B on the line to get it on down to the lift station?
Yes, and the 2A, 2B. Between 2A and 2B, we need a decision on which one you guys want to go with there. 2A is a shallower line that's just a little more costly, $30,000 worth. 2B is a deeper line that's a little more expensive. And then 1A, 1B is where you're weighing a lift station versus gravity. So I just need to know which direction you guys want to go with that, and then basically any other comments, concerns that you have on the layout.
So we've got 1A is the one by the beehive. 1B goes across over there, following a draw. So those two are the competing ones there, and then it's 2A or 2B on the other one?
Exactly.
It's not one of those four, it's one of the two and then one of the other two.
Exactly. And we submitted I think it's a 50-page plan set that shows all the layout of these lines in greater detail to the town. That shows the elevations, proposed elevations, what slopes you would have. And you can look at alternative 2A and 2B at a larger scale. We got it at a 1 to 100 scale that shows those lines. Which was what we used for the basis of a detailed opinion of cost, which we provided with this for each area. And we just broke it into areas and named these areas. If you want to change names of areas, if you want to change any of that, just let me know. But we just did that to make it a manageable document. The plans are set up where we have a vicinity map of the Duncan Road area, and then all the plan and profile sheets for those particular lines are shown in there. So we try to make it as clear as we could. It's a large scope of project.
Mr. Mayor, I think for myself personally, I'd like to be able to review the documentation that you've got in the office. You know,
Okay.
I'd like to see more information, and then if we will be receiving, or you, Cody, will be receiving comments from NMED, I'd like to see those as well.
Okay.
You said Friday?
Yeah, Friday, and they'll send them to you guys and copy me on it. So it should be addressed to the town, CPB's comments. And then if you guys look at these documents, you have any more questions, you want to hold a workshop or anything like that, just let me know. So.
So, are you telling me that all of these little lines all over this whole map, like all the way up to Woods Ranch and all the way over here to Edgewood 7 and Quail Trail and Williams Ranch Road, Birch Avenue, are all part of what this design will be?
Yep.
So all of that area will be provided sewer service?
We'll get it to basically the design to a 60% submittal, like I said, and then if you guys select one of these areas to be 100% designed for phase 2, then it will be ready to go to construction, those upon receipt of funding for construction. But yes, they're all included in the service area and the design. They'll be ready for the next step to break into construction projects and finalize the design. And
Any other questions, council? Anybody in the public got any questions?
Are we going to be required to get sewer service?
Yes.
It's in the ordinance on that, yes. If it's within, I think, 200 feet of the property, yeah.
Where's that in the ordinance? I never got a copy of an ordinance. I never got a copy of anything that we were annexed into the city. So I don't know what's going on.
I would suggest you come into the office, see Carla.
2015-03, I believe, and it's available online. It's our old
Is
store
it
ordinance.
2015-03?
I believe so.
There is stuff online. Yeah, there is an ordinance out there that was passed, and that is one of the requirements of it.
Well, we will make her a copy. She wants to come in and get it.
You want to come in?
Okay. I don't know if there's...
I'll come in tomorrow.
Okay. There even maybe... I'll try and pick up any annexation stuff I can for you as well. Two different things, but I can put together a packet.
Okay.
We did, Rebecca just sent out some annexation letters basically to everybody in the town that said... Okay.
It came in on the infill.
Yeah.
I read it online that we got her, but I didn't know we were required to go to the sewer.
If it's in so many feet of your property.
Okay.
Come on in tomorrow.
I will.
I'll give you a packet of information on the annexation and then I'll give you a copy of the store license.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
I have a comment. I know that that plant has failed in the past. I have seen several companies come and go for days, pumping it out and taking it to 203 dump. So I know that it's not a full safe, it's a fail-safe system. I'm wondering about the EPA, if they're going to be in contact about this, because I do get periodic letters from them with concerns. I had talked to our previous town manager, who was Karen Mahalik, about this years ago, and I do have serious concerns that this is not the chicken or the egg. This is the plant that has to be authorized and certified and all that stuff. And the reason I say that is because 90% of us are on a well. And like I told her, who knows where this is going and when it leaks, because I know about the design of it and what's in there, and it's supposed to filter through naturally and all this stuff, but it doesn't. Believe me, it doesn't. I owned a septic business for 5 years, so I know that what it does. And so my thing is, I want somebody to prove to me that they know exactly where this stuff is going when it fails. No one knows. And with all the wells around there, who knows what would happen? You could be poisoning us.
Do we have an idea of, along these lines, how many of these properties are on community co-op water and how many of them are on private wells?
No, council, we have no idea.
Okay, could we maybe do some research on that?
We'll definitely look into it.
hooking up to the sewer, I always understood it in my lifetime, having been in that business, that a resident had the option of hooking up or not hooking up, and if they were on a leach system with a septic tank, that yes, in fact, once it failed, they must hook up, but until that time, if they properly maintain it and they don't have any leach line problems, they did not have to hook up.
Carl, you probably ought to come in and get a copy of that ordinance too.
Maybe so.
Just one other question because of what Tappan said earlier. Mr. Bassett, can you lay out, can you just clarify on these lines here, which of them cross Bassett property? Family property, whether it's yours or not?
Alternative 1B and the Main Street stuff. Okay, Cody, if there's no other questions or anything, well, thank you, and we'll get back with you as quick as we can.
Okay. I do appreciate your guys' time, and I'm going to go try to sneak home and say goodnight to the kids.
Thank you, Cody.
You guys have a good evening.
Next item is matters from the mayor. Excuse me. First thing we've got, we went up to the Board of Finance meeting Tuesday, and once again, our lease with the school was the topic. We were on their consent agenda again, and once again, they passed the consent agenda, approving the changes to the lease. Carla, did we get anything in from the school yet on that?
We did. There was a copy of the lease agreement that they approved this morning. However, they have not yet signed it.
Right.
But this is the agreement that they approved this morning in their board meeting. Mr. Sullivan's secretary sent this to us at the end of the day today.
I think also one of the things he was talking to Juan and I about was cleaning up this red verbiage in here and stuff and getting it all into black. And so, yeah, I can see why he probably didn't include this as the signed version, because they were going to clean all this up and get it back where it was all in black. However, that was the plan, was they were going to get it approved. You tell me they did.
They did.
Yeah, I was trying to contact Mr. Sullivan this afternoon. I couldn't get a hold of him. But anyway, they approved it. So council, you can look it over here, take a few minutes. Basically, it's an action item down below here, so we'll have a chance to act on it.
And at the last meeting, I'm sorry, Mayor, when Mr. Sullivan was here, he asked us to put it on tonight's agenda for approval, based on the fact that he thought they would approve it this morning, and they did.
And Councilor Simmons also asked the same thing, so Leroy, it's here, they've approved it, and in a few moments, if we're so inclined, we can approve it, and then when he cleans up the red verbiage and stuff in here, he ought to have it ready to sign, and then we can sign it, and then it'll be basically scanned and sent up to Carmela Manzari there at Mexico Finance Authority. We stopped in there also, and they're waiting to get it. And so that's my latest on the facilities update. Next item, council, is planning and zoning. We'd like to meet with them in a joint meeting to discuss the implementation of the new subdivision ordinance. What they kind of thought of was 5:30 on the 4th of October. So we'd have to come in about an hour early and just have a joint meeting with them to discuss the new ordinance and council's desires for what they want to see, out of them with it, and maybe help them understand anything on it and get the feedback from them, what they expect from us. So look at your calendars and see if we can do the meeting on the 4th of October, 1 hour earlier, started at 5:30, and that part of it would just be a joint council P&Z commission meeting to discuss the subdivision ordinance.
The apartments you're talking about?
What's that?
Is that the apartments?
No, ma'am, we're still not on any apartments. One of these days we might, but not yet. The next thing is the unofficial results from yesterday's 16th GRT special election results in Santa Fe County. There was a total of 7,945 votes cast. For was 2,388, against was 5,557. So that measure failed, so our gross receipts will pretty much stay where it's at for the time being. And the other thing I have is this Friday morning, coming up Friday morning, Judge White is going to have a cornerstone laying and dedication of the Edgewood Courthouse, which is the current police facility over there on Section 16. And we are cordially invited to attend the installation by the Grand Lodge of Masons in New Mexico. It'll be Friday, September 22nd. Starts at 9:30, and they'll get to the actual ceremony itself about 10:30. So they need to get RSVP'd in, and it's there if you want to go see them. The Masons dedicate the coming courthouse over there. And that's all I've got tonight. Next item would be matters from councilors. Councilor Abraham.
What about Councilor Simmons?
Oh, Councilor Simmons, yeah. Rita Loy, you got anything to give us an update on what shape you're in down there?
I'm in great shape for the shape I'm in.
Okay.
If I had to break my hip, it had to be the best kind of break and the easiest one to heal from. And they're pushing me hard down here, and all of the well wishes are gratefully appreciated. I just, every now and again, the world says you will stop for a while, and this is my stop for a while, but actually not. It's a different direction. I think the bricklaying ceremony is going to be absolutely splendid, and I'm very pleased Judge White has done this because, it's the ceremonial, but ceremony has some place in life. I think that there are times when we ignore ceremony. The other thing is the showing on the gross receipts tax. When you figure the number of voters against the population of Santa Fe County, that shows a complete disengagement from our form of government. I'm saddened by that, but it is what it is.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Simmons. Councilor Abraham.
I was notified today that there's going to be a workshop at the Tijeras Senior Center on the 26th from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And it's going to be focused on protecting seniors against fraud. There will be 10 different organizations there to talk about how to help seniors prevent fraud, and one of the major ones will be from the IRS, because seniors are always targeted by phone calls saying you owe taxes. So that's all I have.
Councilor Hawley.
Okay, I just want to mention that at Linda Burke's invitation, I was invited to come and meet the Board of Directors for the Chamber of Commerce at their last meeting, September 11th, and that was just because I was new to the council, so I got an opportunity to meet those folks over there.
Councilor Abrams.
Couple of things. A little bit of organizational business. Over the last several dozen sessions or so, we've broken our agenda up in an odd and I think cumbersome way. At one point I had proposed a consent agenda which would allow us to approve a great number of the reports and meeting minutes, et cetera, et cetera. And we've now broken these off into 1, 2, 3, and if I do the subsections of them, 6, 7, 8 vote items. I would like to ask that we reconsider what we are doing with our consent agenda. I would like to see us be able to get through this so that we can have meetings that don't go until midnight. And if they do go into midnight, my hope is that it's the citizens of the town in here talking to us, rather than us sitting here going through meeting minutes over and over and over again. We have the opportunity with a consent agenda to pull things off if we need to discuss them. That's the way the consent agenda works. If you've got a problem with a report, or you've got a problem with a set of minutes, you pull it out and we talk about it. Other than that, I think we don't need to have a protracted or extended agenda to continue discussing the minutia. If we have to, great. But if not, we can approve a consent agenda and move on to the business of the town. I don't believe that there is any legal or other stipulation upon us to have these all broken out. There is a legal obligation to have them and to recognize them and to approve them. Beyond that, I don't believe we have any real need to have them individually presented to us every single meeting. As a consent agenda, we have the ability as this board to approve them properly, en masse, and I think we need to start doing that. Other than that, for those of you who know, today's the Jewish New Year. Shana Tova to everybody.
Thank you, Counselor. Just to pick up on that a little bit, so looking at tonight's agenda, what would you cram into the consent agenda more than what's already in there?
Council meeting minutes.
Okay.
Town of Edgewood planning and zoning reports, police reports, judges reports. There are a number of reports that we do as rather perfunctory options that we go through every single meeting.
Well, and so you mentioned that we were up there for this Board of Finance meeting in Santa Fe there. They start out with the roll call, and they had the action item of approval of the agenda, and then their next 3 through 13 items were all consent agenda. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I guess 9 of them, 10, 11 are action items that all had their stuff wrote out here. They were approving stuff, you know, Water Association, request to lease on real property, the stuff we had with the school and that. They took care of all that right at the start, and the only thing left then was, well, I don't know how long it went, we got it left too, but.
I would think that, you know, standard approval items, if we've done our homework, which, you know, we've got a packet, we've got, you know, 72 hours between when the packet has to be in our, you know, published, and our meetings. I don't see any reason why we can't do simple approvals, lease agreements, et cetera, et cetera. If something needs to be pulled off the consent agenda, we can certainly do it. But I think we can do quite a good bit.
You want us to try it for the next agenda?
I would love to see it.
Okay.
May I ask a quick question?
Go ahead.
So on this agenda, the action item H, items 1, items 2, and items 3 could almost be moved to the consent agenda. Is
That would be correct,
Okay.
yes. I think if we've read through things and, you know, for things like resolution changes, you know, minor wording changes, et cetera, I think that's something that we can certainly handle.
Correct, but this resolution is mainly just an acceptance of a grant agreement.
Right, exactly. This resolution is the acceptance of a grant agreement. I mean, those are things that we would do out of course.
Okay. Now, one more question for clarification. We talked in the last meeting about actually wanting to hear from department heads when they present their reports, but now we're talking about moving them just to maybe a written report and an acceptance of the consent agenda.
We are doing monthly reports from many departments.
Right.
I think a quarterly verbal update is plenty for us, and I believe would serve the needs of the community very well. If we need to find out something, you know, if we have a calamity or catastrophe and we need a report on that, I think that is something out of the ordinary, and I would welcome it.
Okay. Yeah, because like I say, they had a whole bunch of projects on here, they took them all with the consent, and then it was some other stuff here. But, yeah, the big lion's share of their agenda went just to the consent agenda.
I believe spending the lion's share of our time on public hearings and hearing our community is probably a much more worthwhile endeavor.
Fair enough. The next item then is matters from clerk treasurer, Mr. Torres.
Mayor Council, so just kind of an update on the facilities as well. So I heard from Bruce yesterday afternoon. CID has approved the plans for the police department for converting the fire department to the police department and the police station to the courthouse. So they've approved those plans. They'll be drawing the contracts up, and hopefully we'll get those next week. I'll bring those on the October 4th meeting just for you guys to look at. We did give him the heads up that Board of Finance did approve the new lease agreement. So I kind of tentatively gave him the go-ahead to start working on and finalizing the plans for the administrative offices. So if it holds the same course as the police and courthouse, we'll probably get those approved November. So for administrative offices, we'll be looking to move in probably beginning of next year.
Yeah, sometime next year. At least give us fits.
Let's see, just quick update. Town offices, our copier finally met its doom. We're going to try and sell it off and see if we can maybe get a couple $100 for someone to use it for parts, but we did get a new one in. We did receive 3 quotes. The lowest quote came in, I want to say, right around $5,900. Maintenance agreement is about the same that we were paying for the previous one, right around $120, $130 a month. So if you come in the office and you see the big Darth Vader looking thing, that's the new copier.
It's black as coal. Come around the corner like, ugh.
That is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Next item on the agenda is H, action items. First one up is discussion, consideration, action on the approval of the lease agreement for Edgewood Elementary School building between the